I can remember driving through the rich neighborhoods, admiring the expensive homes, wondering what it must feel like to sleep in a master bedroom the size of a Superdome, wondering what it must feel like to bath in bathrooms the size of a two-car garage. Sleeping in a home with so many bedrooms must be like going to Vegas and staying at the Mirage. Ooh, one day, I would always say, ooh, one day, I would always say, one day, I'm gonna live like the stars. I want an indoor swimming pool with an indoor gym and a long driveway for all my cars. One day I want to live like the stars. I want a house so big, sitting fat on the lake with a long yacht in the back. People mistake it for a barge. Cause all you can do is dream when you grew up in the hood. You want to see the world and live in places nobody ever thought you could. I thought it must be nice. Living in a neighborhood where everything seems so well. Their neighborhood smelled like spring flowers and my neighborhood carried the cologne of a canal. I thought it must be nice. Living in an area where everything seems so right. Like cool breezes on fall mornings just before the sun offers its light. Ooh, one day I would always say, ooh, one day I would always say, one day when I graduate, I'ma move someplace far, far away, like maybe New York, the city of dreams. It seems the people in New York are always 10 years ahead on everything, like maybe Chicago, the windy city. It seems the women in Chicago were always seductively pretty, like maybe LA. I used to want to get on a Greyhound bus and get dropped off anywhere near Hollywood. I'll even settle for the good side of New Orleans. Mahalia and Louis made it there, so maybe I could. Maybe y'all get me a home on the St. Charles line, so me and my family can sit behind a big glass window in our living room and watch the people walk the strip as we dine. Or maybe y'all move downtown to the quarters. Maybe y'all get me a lavish condo, so when I wake up in the morning, I can hear the sound of trumpets and won't have to hear the sound of guns no more. I was glad when God finally gave me a chance to live in one of the fancy neighborhoods. I learned it very quickly that people who live in these neighborhoods really don't live so good. Day by day, day by day, all of my expectations begin to vanish because I learned very quickly that people who live in these neighborhoods begin to look stranger and stranger and stranger every day. What they don't tell you about the upscale neighborhoods is their kids have just as many guns. Their sons stay locked up in the bedroom for days because he's in there learning how to create bombs. What they don't tell you about the upscale neighborhood is that disassociation becomes the very fuel that makes these boys leave these gated communities like psychopaths and go shoot up their own schools. What they don't tell you about the upscale neighborhoods is that their daughters are hotter than June. They have sex on the regular and a mama don't know because a mama ain't allowed in her room. What they don't tell you about the upscale neighborhoods is that by 10 years old, their kids have already manipulated the game, and just because their mom restrict them from social sites, they learn to set up a Facebook page under a different name. What they don't tell you about the upscale neighborhoods is that real marriage don't exist. The wife has a young man on the side and she has no problem with the husband having a mistress. And no, you probably won't hear gunshots. No, you probably won't see loud spats. But don't get it twisted, they just fight and smoke their crack in the back. And almost any night of the week, a wife is certain to be crying because the greatest thing she accomplished in her life was marrying a man with money. But now her money man is gone and she lives in one of these big homes all alone. Rich kids never plan to step out on a limb because they know by the time they become teenagers, the family business is already in line to be passed down to them. Rich parents, they form these social groups and these religious cults for their kind, but they're just social groups full of nonsense to pacify their bored minds. And almost any night of the week, there's a whole lot of heroin being smoked behind these gates on a regular basis. But for some reason, when you and I cut the news on, we never see their faces. So you and I work our butts off to get inside the pearly gates with just as many criminals conjugate. And the property value over here will never go low because the real estate agent is only going to tell you what you need to know. He isn't going to tell you that guns are in our neighborhoods, but the people who bring the guns in live in these homes. He isn't going to tell you that drugs infest our community, but people who bring the drugs in live in these homes. He isn't going to tell you that our kids are trying to be thugs and criminals, but the real criminals are the lawmakers who do the same thing and get away with it, but they live in these homes. So while we're working our butts off, trying to get inside the pearly gates, just so we can have an insanely large bathroom with a postcard view that's cool, just don't get over here and get high society, because you'll soon find out people over here are just as ghetto as the people you used to live next door to.